As the night wore on at this 11-hour circle jerk with these white racists, according to Times, as the night wore on and most reporters had gone home, the language changed. Mr. Spencer's after-dinner speech began with a polemic against, quote, the mainstream media, end quote. Before he briefly paused, he said, quote, perhaps we should refer to them in the original German. The audience immediately screamed back, Lügenpresse, a Nazi-era word that means lying press. Lügenpresse! And then Spencer suggested, oh, fuck. Spencer suggested that the news media had been critical of Trump throughout the campaign in order to protect Jewish interests. Spencer went on, quote, one wonders if these people, Jews, are people at all, or instead soulless golem. You know what a golem is? It's a Jewish fable. A clay giant that is brought to life to protect the Jews. Anyway, Spencer went on. I mean, I can only imagine what this must have been like. And the reporter for the New York Times who was there, his name is Joseph Goldstein. That's a brave man. Spencer said that Trump's election was, quote, the victory of will, end quote. Sounds like Leni Riefenstahl's movie, The Triumph of the Will. Have you seen that whole movie? You can go online and watch the whole thing. It's a masterwork of propaganda. Brilliantly put together, if you can use that word, brilliant. But Leni Riefenstahl, who was never put on trial, never, Nuremberg, nothing. She was just a filmmaker. Even though she was, at one point, it's my understanding that she was a member of the Nazi Party. But to refer to something as the victory of the will, at a conference in Washington, D.C., referring to the most famous Nazi-era propaganda film, and I've always thought it was more than that. It was more than a propaganda film. It was a film designed to establish Hitler as a demigod. Not a demagogue, but a demigod. Spencer then mentioned with a sneer on his face Theodor Herzl, the Zionist leader who advocated a Jewish homeland in Israel. And for some reason, Spencer quoted Theodor Herzl's famous pronouncement, quote, if we will it, it is no dream. Now, there's a lot of weight on that statement, isn't there? There's a lot of blood on that statement. There's a lot of terror and horror and upset and dislocation, destruction. If we will it, it is no dream. To have a persecuted people use that phrase originally used it. I'm not referencing Palestine now. I'm just talking about the Jews as a people who were butchered, murdered, gas burned, hanged, fried, decapitated, families wiped out, okay? It's understandable that they would use that phrase, but whites in America? Are you fucking kidding me? Whites in America? equating themselves. This is like the Christians who equate themselves with a persecuted group of people. Oh, we Christians are being put upon. Oh, we whites are just being put upon. It's awful. It's just awful. I can't walk down the street anymore and use the N-word. I can't walk down the street anymore and give the finger to some black man. I just can't do it anymore. This political correctness shit has just really gotten to me. And not only that, but everything the federal government does now is for the Negroes, not for us, the white people. That's how the alt-right has gotten inside the heads of these people. Millions, tens of millions of people in this country. Spencer thundered. The United States has been turned into a sick, corrupted society. Sound familiar? America was, until this last generation, a white country designed for ourselves and our posterity. It is our creation. It is our inheritance. It belongs to us. Sieg Heil! I mean, you can't say that stuff without coming up with a Sieg Heil. How do you say it? The white race is a race that travels forever on an upward path. And as this went on, more and more members of the audience were up on their feet as Spencer described the choice facing white people, which is to conquer or die. Sound familiar? Steve Bannon told Mother Jones earlier this year, and I quoted from that article quite a bit, that the Breitbart news site was now, quote, the platform of the alt-right. Several months back, Breitbart published an op-ed article urging, quote, that every tree, every rooftop, every picket fence, every telegraph pole in the South should be festooned with the Confederate battle flag. Oh, okay. But telegraph pole? What the fuck are they talking? Telegraph pole? Jesus Christ, who wrote that? This is what has me scared. Not necessarily scared, but just, what's the word? I'll use the word my mother used to use. Upset. Upset. That this shit is just out in open discussion now. Not discussion, but this attitude of white supremacy is now, according to these people, I don't know what goes on in Trump's mind. I don't think Trump knows what goes on in his own mind. But to these people, these alt-right people, the neo-fascists, the neo-Nazis, they're on top. Finally! And according to Times, for the alt-right, the most exciting thing about Trump was that he built his campaign around the issues that mattered most to them. And that white people had voted for Trump in numbers that left the political establishments of both parties stunned. Spencer more or less summed up by saying it is now up to the alt-right to formulate the ideas and policies to guide the Trump administration. Are you catching it? Are you hearing this? He said, according to Times, quote, I think we can be the ones out in front thinking about those things he, Trump, hasn't quite grasped yet, who are putting forward policies, have a realistic chance of being implemented. That's the scary part.